tse parche pande lame shabla solvade Om a Guru Vajradara Suma Timoni Shasane Kar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om a Guru Vajradara Suma Timoni Shasane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om a Guru Vajradara Sumati Muni Shasane Kar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om a Guru Vajradara Sumati Muni Shasane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om a Guru Vajradara Sumati Muni Shasane Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Muni Shasane Kar Utta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Dagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Sikso So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Oyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Tseje Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dejen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malyop Gemel Hunge Drupra Chinge Lo Tsoni Sodan Dikdun Shape Tse Dunginam Ke Yinso Lekshun Lapchen Tsonyi Yonso Tsopa Dan Chira Nyetun Changra Chingelo Chancho Parge Ninsen Tukun Tu Nyu Peme Siodru Lekshun Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Tungende Drubra Chingelo Dagelo Na Chola Chokpad Chemin Samjur Ngemba Shiwa Dan Chedan Tumbe Dedem Malyopa Bemel Hungi Drubra Chingel Dorna Tingne Tsera Tamche Dan Techi Pardune Kav Tamche Tu Rese Kyamne Lama Keleme Tukche Chinge Dala Siksusul Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Chetsun Lame Tuche Rabkong Kudan Sunge Nawa Dralme Tu Nyamsunyongwe Kesan Tobrash Kewa Kuntu Drame Cheki Pela Longche Chin Sadan Lamge Yende Rabzo Dorje Change Koba Nyur Tob Sho Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Lu Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Ngam Pakyuke Tukdan Dagi Yin Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Lo Makyuke Kudan Dagi Lu Makyuke Sundan Dagi Ngam Makyuke Tukdan Dagi Yin Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingiolo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Svoha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Svoha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Sashipu ki chushime to tamare rabaling shi ni de gempadi sange shintu mikte ulvar ki drokun namda shingla Chöpar shoyidam guru radna mindrala kam niryatayami Sangye chodan tsoge chonamla chanchu pardo dani kyapsu chim Dagi chushe gibe sonam ki Drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chodan tsoge chonamla chanchu pardo dani kyapsu chim Dagi chishe gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chedan soge chonam la chanchu pardo dani kyapsu chip gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho Namo nel Buddha, nel Dharma
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Namo yal haye ke da luda nue jin ke druda dami ke namda druwa kuin ke tanam chi tsampa tam che ke tu dagi che ten to. Buongiorno.
Good morning.
Ogni tanto
Once in a while,
esempio personale
I used as a personal example talking about various aspects that we need to improve, the so-called mental poison. I used my example of laziness, and someone said, "No, Lama, you can't be so lazy." And I said, "You don't know me enough." And this was an aspect of mine since I was very young. Since I was a boy, there are certain things that I didn't really like to do, and I didn't put any effort. For example, I like to sleep till late, and I would prepare my clothes for the day after ready so that I could only jump in the car. And for anything I wouldn't like to do, I would try to just feel comfortable in doing these things. And when I went to India, in the traditional Buddhist studies, an important factor is memorization. There is another part which is philosophy teachings, then debate. These are the parts that make the lessons. There's debate, then to support debate are the teachings, then lecture, and then memorization. Because when you go to debate, you cannot bring books along, so you have to memorize everything, any quotes, any definitions, everything must be memorized.
a me il dibattito mi piaceva tantissimo.
I like debate very much.
Andare agli insegnamenti delle lezioni
Going to teachings as well, I was following even more teachings. my teacher had many disciples, so I had to repeat teachings many times, and I would attend all of them. Then debate would finish at 9, and I stayed until 11 p.m. because I liked it very much. Memorization was something that I really did not like. I was really annoyed by memorizing. So this was pure laziness for me. There were 3 types of exams: debate, written, and memorization. But what really makes the grades is the debate exam. So if you excel in debate, then you're promoted to the following year. So I was the first among the debate students, and I was the last one among memorization. I thought memorizing wasn't so important because I felt like I needed to understand, so I would make up every possible excuse not to memorize. Although today I do understand how important memorizing is. So, at a semester memorization exam, we would need to prepare 50 pages. About 50 pages means 2 sides, so 100 sheets. Memorized word by word. Who was assessing the memorization debate was the discipline master, who that year was also my teacher and my friend. So he came to me and said, "Lama, are you aware that in about a month you have to give the memorization exam?" I said, "Yes, of course." And then he said, "How many pages do you need to memorize? How many did you prepare?" And I replied, Westerners aren't really good at memorizing. And I replied, out of 50 sheets, I have memorized about 13. And he said something that really struck me. Remember, if you do not put effort into something which is difficult for you, where will you put it? And then he didn't add anything else. I believed I was a person who would put a lot of effort in many things. I was studying debate, I would attend all the lessons, I was very much interested in everything I was doing, I was very good, even at following rules, and memorization was something that I could compensate with all the rest. When he said, if you do not put effort in what is difficult to you, where else would you put effort? And I thought that debating, going to teachings was something I wouldn't put any effort because I simply liked them. So there I started to put energy into memorizing. It was very, very challenging every morning, afternoon, evening. I was doing approximately 6 hours per day in memorization. At exam, I presented 63 sheets. So I realized I didn't have any it wasn't that I didn't have any capacity in memorizing. I wasn't skilled at that. I just didn't put any effort. What really helped me was that one of the topics was the commentary about relative and absolute reality, which I already liked a lot. But what I learned out of these was that without effort, we often are stuck where we were before. Effort is when we put energy into something which is positive but isn't easy. And something that isn't easy is something that goes beyond our habits, something which obliges us to get out of our comfort zone. And our attitude is to try to protect at any cost our comfort zones. For me, this works like that. That is like that, and I won't put any effort. And therefore, we justify our comfort zone because we are like this, like that. And likewise, I was justifying that I didn't have to memorize anything because I was doing a lot of debate, I was following all the teachings, and so on. And one of the reasons why I was staying in debate classes until 11 or p.m. or even late was because between 10 and 11 p.m. was the formal time to recite whatever we had memorized. And since debate was considered, let's say, more important, if I stayed up late at debating, that was better rather than, let's say, taking care of the memorization part. Because in the morning you have to memorize loud speaking in the morning. So you take the text, read the first line in the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. In Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. And so on, you repeat loudly. So that's why you see children one next to the other repeating loud, line by line, until it is memorized. In the afternoon, you pick it up again, and in the evening, you have to recite it without the text, summing it up to whatever you have learned in the previous days. Because otherwise, without repeating what you have memorized in the previous days, then you won't be able to remember it. If you instead have kept repeating whatever you have memorized for 2 or 3 years, then it will stick to your mind. My teacher was taking grade 1 or 2 in memorization. In the monastery, there was a unique grading among all the students, and this person would memorize every year 1,500 pages. He also liked playing, laughing. He entered monastery, he was 2.5 years. So we often justify the way we protect our comfort zone, because in our comfort zone there are good things. I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I excel at this, I excel at that. There must be something which is not optimal, otherwise I would be a Buddha. So these are all excuses and stiffnesses that we create not to get beyond our habits. Because getting out of our habits is challenging. Getting out of our habits and our comfort zone can be very difficult. These are physical, mental, verbal habits. But as long as I stay in my comfort zone and within my habits, I will just run in a loop. Like a hamster that runs around and never goes beyond. Because we try to reinforce habits we already have, pre-existing habits. And this habit can relate to the way we think, we act, we speak, and so on. Sometimes in life we face situations where the system, that rigid structure we created doesn't work. And when we have to get out of the comfort zone suddenly for external conditions, very often we experience a very traumatic experience and we leave it with lots of suffering. Lama Rinpoche often said, someone who never speaks should speak more. Who always speaks should speak less. Who never travels should travel, and who loves to travel should stay put. We should get out of our comfort zone, change our habits, and generate flexibility. This is a very important quality. Without flexibility, this stiffness we have, as I said before, will make us relive the same things in a loop and won't allow us to grow and will keep us living situations in a very conflictuous way. My own needs, situations I live, don't always fit with my comfort zone. And very often we say, I'm like this. Who wants to be with me needs to adapt to myself. But is it the best thing for myself? I don't think so. At least I'm talking selfishly, as a healthy, selfish person. To grow up, I need to put energy into something positive, but not necessarily easy. So that means doing physical things, which I don't like, as well as changing our way of thinking. And doing something we don't like also helps us to generate flexibility, helps us to get out of our rigid way of approaching everything. When I went to the Tashilhunpo monastery visiting my teacher, who was the abbot of the monastery, he was living in a small house. There was a traditional abbot house. Even the bed was the same where abbots over abbots slept in centuries. So at that time there was no running water. It was early in the morning. I went there for teachings. It was about 4 floors up, and Tibetan stairs aren't the traditional ones. They are almost 90 degrees. There's a rope, and steps are very, very steep. Let's say 70 degrees. So you go up with the help of the rope, and in front of me there was a boy. Let's remember it is 4,000 meters altitude. He was carrying about 25 liters water with a leash on his head. He was grasping for air. This was very challenging. At the 3rd floor, he let me in and just stops to grasp for some water. Then he pours water from his tank to the main one where they would then get water. Then I looked down and there was a tap in the court for the rest of the people. And I asked myself, why not having a pipe that brings water up to the abbot's house? At the end of the teaching, I said Kenla to my teacher about water. Why don't we connect the tap downstairs to the tap upstairs with a pipe? And he gave me this answer, which Kanchen Wanchuk, the nephew of Lama Ganchen, helped me to understand. So the abbot said, if young boys wouldn't have to develop constance and effort into basic things like having water, if they wouldn't get used to put effort and consistency into simple things, how will they be able to put effort into meditation, into discipline? Effort is something which is a habit. Stiffness of staying in a comfort zone and the flexibility of getting out of our comfort zone are different habits. And for external things, I can develop stiffness. I won't park there. I'll draw lines on a white sheet with a red pen. But when it gets to me with myself, my habits, which are harming myself, there are no excuses. With myself, I need to face this. And when I lack flexibility, when I lack joy in transcending habits, joy in walking towards light, even if it's difficult, knowing that you're going towards something better. When I lack that, then it gets very, very difficult, very challenging. So, often in Lambring and other teachings, it's said that the joyful effort, which is putting joy into virtue, putting effort, energy into something which is positive but difficult. It's said that this quality is the one which allows us to realize everything, and without this quality we can't do anything. Without joyful effort, without putting effort into something which helps us to get out of our situation, transcend our habits, without this determined attitude, we are where we were before. We will never grow. It's also described as even an ant walking in the right direction, even an ant with joyful effort and constance can achieve enlightenment. You can have the best conditions in the world. Without joyful effort, you won't go anywhere. You'll be stuck wherever you are. And here, once I was studying, I was coming from the debate class. Genlapala, my teacher, in the evening was used to do his prayers. It was very hot. He would sit on a chair on a balcony at the entrance, at the end of the stairs. There was a stairs at the end. There was a kind of a balcony with a chair, and there I could enjoy a fresh breeze. I would sit next to him, and that day, after the debate class, he asked me what was the lesson about and said, I'm very happy that you're studying very well, but remember, you have to be like an ant and not like a flea.
La pulce,
The flea,
flis, flea, Claudia, pulce is flea. Okay. Deve essere come una formica in un
has to be like an ant. You have to be like a flea. You have to be like an ant, not like a flea. Because the flea jumps and then is stuck in the same spot. If you have ever seen a flea,
aveva una quantità, no, adesso mi ricordo il perché, c'è una quantità di pulce enormi.
in India once we had a flea problem because we had cats
Un giorno sono entrato lì,
reproducing in a room. I went to catch a book and I brought with myself lots of fleas, and in the bed then I could see them jumping.
ho preso un contenitore dei
Then I took
piccole delle macchine fotografiche che una volta c'erano, quelli,
plastic box
e prendevo le pulce.
and I started putting fleas inside, locking it and releasing them outside.
Hanno quella caratteristica,
So fleas have these characteristics. They jump all over, but they are always stuck in the same place. The ant instead walks and walks. Have you ever seen a ant stuck in one place? Ants, they always walk with small steps and can reach very far distances.
perciò mio maestro diceva, se sei come una
So my teacher said, if you're like a flea, you will put a lot of effort, energy, and you will then stop. Again, energy, and you're stuck again. This doesn't work. Instead, if you take one step after the other, even small steps, this will lead you much farther away.
una in cui c'era
There are other stories. One, there's a boy arriving in at a monastery. He wasn't intelligent at all in terms of memorizing, studying. It was very difficult for him, especially to memorize. So his teacher was desperate, who tried every possible way to help him memorizing. So his teacher gave him an iron ring, which would put on the book and then read the words that would fit within the ring, which is very few compared to what other students would use. He was called the little ring, Alon in Tibetan.
Fatto sta che lui non ha mai
So
mancato di memorizzare
he never missed memorizing one ring a day every year. Even during Tibetan New Year, he would memorize every day, even if it took him hours to memorize. So after 25 years, he had more knowledge than other students who would be able to memorize 6-7 pages per day at the beginning of their studies, but never had constance, never had consistence. There was another boy
perché lui al
who
mattino
had
c'era dei momenti in cui lui diceva
a low pitch voice.
si svegliava prima di tutto
Then he would wake up in the morning.
una voce molto rauca.
He had a very low pitch voice, and every morning he would memorize, repeating loudly in the morning. So for 1 month, he would wake up before the others, go to sleep after the others. At the end, wouldn't succeed, and then would just give up, said, I'm not able, and wouldn't do anything else for 3 months, rather than going to the toilet, sleeping, and eating. Then after another 3 months, he would start again, studying more than the others, and then he wouldn't succeed again. At the end, he just gave up and he just went to New York City to sell hot dogs. There are many examples like these which show us that if we put energy with consistency, one step after the other, we'll be able to support it. Even getting out of our comfort zone, creating flexibility in developing patience, love, kindness, awareness, concentration. In every habit we want to develop, if slowly, one step at a time, every day, we get out of our comfort zone, not much, but very little every day, and we stay there, then the day after, more. In this way, slowly, our comfort zone will expand, will create new habits. If instead we're afraid to leave our comfort zone, we're afraid to suffer, and we're stuck where we are, we will afterwards suffer even more. And we won't be able to grow much. And one of the biggest risks is to be intelligent and be excellent at something. Sometimes these make things even more difficult because I relax in my own intelligence. I understand, I'm strong, I'm able, and I'm stuck there. Why would I put any more effort into something else? I'm already good enough. And this is very tricky because we need to get used to put effort, get out of the comfort zone. When it will really be necessary, we won't have the capacity, the ability, and we will start from zero.
Ricordo anche uno scrittore moderno.
A modern writer, Yuval Harari, talking about the business world, in one of his books, he, together with the concept of changes in the professional structures, artificial intelligence. So before this, he said, we live in an epoch where we struggle to foresee the next 15 years. Even from a professional point of view, the work you do or whatever you're studying for, you wonder whether it will exist or will be the same in 15 years. We don't know. The main characteristic that today I think is necessary in the educational process is flexibility and emotional stability. With the technological changes in our society, very often we'll have to reinvent ourselves, change whatever we do, adapt to a new reality. And the more stiff, rigid we are, the more locked we are in this identity of ourselves, without having the ability to adapt to new things, the more we will suffer. Because we won't be able to face changes without the flexibility to do things in another way. And it will be very, very challenging. He said the main characteristic we need to develop in our education system is flexibility and emotional stability, the ability to reinvent ourselves, to adapt. And I agree, but looking around, I see that we have already concluded our educational process on one side. On the other side, life helps us to learn every day, to evolve every day, constantly. So I apologize for repeating this again. It is very important to get out of our comfort zone, to create a habit of getting out of our comfort zone, to do it joyfully so that we can grow, go beyond. And once again, otherwise we'll be stuck repeating the same habits we have. Some of them are good, very good. Some of them are not so good. And when we're stuck in this, we don't have the power and the ability to adapt and to be able to change. So please, let's pay attention because we're very, very foxy. We make up many excuses, reasons why we shouldn't get out of our comfort zone, explanations why I shouldn't do this because I have already experienced that. So often, the most important point isn't the practical aspect of what we're facing, but is the having the opportunity to getting out of our comfort zone and creating flexibility. Every Tuesday I eat this. Today we'll have a different thing. No. This way, so I'm used to do things the same way. The most important thing is to create flexibility. I follow this road because it's the easiest one. Today we change road. So let's be flexible. Let's get out of our daily routine. Let's do things in another way. I dress up always the same color. As we always wear the same colors, one day I will use other colors. Let's change our identity. When you see yourself dress up in a different way, then we will starting getting out of our comfort zone about our identity. Go to the hairdresser and shave your hair. I'm joking. Don't follow this, but if you feel like, please do it. What I want to say, what I mean is move. Get out of your comfort zone. When you get the habit of getting out of your comfort zone, when life will present challenges, it will be much more easier to be able to adapt. Life brings about changes. When we are in these moments, if we are used to welcome change from the beginning and we're used to a process of transformation, we're used to adapt, we are flexible, then everything happens much smoother. When there's a strong force majeure of change and we are stiff, it's like something that is pushing until it breaks instead of bending. And when something is broken, then it will be very difficult to be fixed. And this applies to relationships, to the work environment, to many environments. When there's a need of adapting to the other person and I resist it, then a break will happen. At work is the same. In our living environment is the same. In the spiritual environment. Someone said to me, according to Chinese astrology, said this year is my year. And it's not a unpleasant thing, but when a new cycle begins, either will bring more solidity, more continuity to what we're already doing, or we'll have to start a new cycle. And that's why we need to be open to change. So let's let's familiarize with small things, small changes, flexibility, and joyful energy into something which is positive but not easy. Being more like an ant rather than a flea. One step at a time. And it's not what I do, but the way I transform. And having flexibility is a very good quality. Having consistency, flexibility is important. They look in opposition to each other, but they are very complementary. Look at the definition of intelligence. Is the capacity to adapt and survive. Let's look at the ability of plants to adapt. And same is for us. If we can adapt, transform, and mold ourselves according to situations, to needs, if we are able to get out of our habits, because jealousy is anger, attachment, ignorance, selfishness, our habits. And when we have the power to get out of our habits, we'll be able to use it for other necessities. So remember, effort, joyful effort. Joyful effort. In joyful effort, it is important to have a direction. But before that, bringing water helps. Getting out of our comfort zone, putting effort into something which is quite basic. This is also very useful. And in our daily lifestyle, the rule is to feel good. I need to put the little effort to have the highest result. So if I can do something with less effort, better. If I can do something else with more comfort, even better. The problem is that later we'll have to face our own inner habits. We won't have the strength to do it unless we put effort. Personally, when I see around myself generations, newer generations, those that I see, let's say from my grandparents onwards, I see that do you think the new generations are more stable, stronger? I don't think so. I remember my grandparents with the sister of my grandmother. Once they came here to visit me, and the driver stopped along Via Piccolo Tibet and couldn't start the engine again. Then my cousin tried to drive, couldn't drive with the stick gear. So they call me for help after 40 minutes trying to start the engine again and pick up on the steep slope. My grandparents and my grandmother's sister, they were very calm. Nothing happened. My cousin and the other person and the driver were very, very agitated, very stressed, like something really big happened. The elderly people just mentioned a slight difficulty, but weren't stressed at all. And there are many other examples. Unfortunately, newer generations have a lot of effort and have a lot of comfort and little effort, so that they become more fragile, less resilient, less inclined to committing. I talk to HR managers, business owners in Italy and Brazil, and what emerged from the different dialects I had, in every sector, constructions, HoReCa, robotics, every sector, they all agree that young people are very difficult at work because their level of commitment and resilience is equal to zero. To me, this looks connected to the fact that we come from a time where we're used to a lot of comfort and little effort. And when we are facing difficulties, we're unable to react, to adapt. So let's talk about ourselves. The question is, do I want to become stronger or weaker, more flexible or more stiff, more rigid? I want to be strong and flexible. So I need to get used to it in my daily routine. I need to cultivate this quality. Joyful effort, flexibility, something very important to us. As Buddha said, this is part of the paramitas, the practice of joyful effort, of perfecting joyful effort. We have the potential, we have a little bit of effort, but we can definitely increase it. We can cultivate it, develop it even more. That's it for today. Thank you all. Like past week, I won't be here to receive you, as I'm putting effort into something which it doesn't come naturally to me, because my quality is to speak, not to write, read, correcting text, but I'm doing it. So I'm very much focused on that. I'm putting energy. I have a tight deadline of 1 week. And when I started my program, my choice was either to cancel the Monday morning inspirations or doing it without receiving you after the teaching. So let's dedicate.
Jetsun alame kutse rapten chi nam kartin le chokchur gepa dan losan tempe drume sasumgi drove munsel taktu ne gyurchi kewa kuntu yanda lama dan dralme cheki pela longche chi sada lamge yunte rapzone dorje change kopan nyurtobsho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan dele kshin ninse takto dele kuncho sumki chingi lob kuncho sumki ngodrubutsol kuncho sumki trashisho.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
Un'ultima cosa,
One last thing, to make sure whether you were practicing joyful effort properly. When we do something, if it hurts a little bit, it means we're doing it in the right way. We are getting out of our comfort zone. If you feel like there's something kind of opposing which doesn't fit with my identity, that's very good. If it slightly hurts, it's like physiotherapy after surgery, a knee surgery. It has to go a little bit beyond, which doesn't mean that we are self-inflicting pain, but it means there's a moment where we go beyond, then we relax, then we go beyond and rest again. So have a nice day.